spring day, a beautiful day here in Algoa by NMB.
Oh, fantastic. Wonderful. Wonderful. And then do we have Mr. Santiago Montt on yet?
Not yet, as far as I can see, Ambassador.
Oh, okay. Maybe he'll join it. I think we're all pretty much all set to go.
Should we start the webinar and open it for the public?
I think we should. Yeah,
I think
right
so.
away. Yeah.
Okay, that's excellent. Please keep in mind that you should have your microphones on mute and only the person who's speaking activate the microphone, please.
Okay.
Thank you. We will start the webinar in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, buenos dias a todos to those that are joining us from around Chile, and good afternoon to those that are joining us from South Africa. My name is Patrick Jacobs, and I'm the Counselor Political at the South African Embassy and your program director for this morning. Before we proceed with our program, let me ask Ms. Carmen Giron of Mundo Chile to explain to us how to access the simultaneous translation feature, as well as the feature to be used during our question and answer session. Ms. Giron, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Good morning. We will have simultaneous interpretation available for this meeting. In order to connect to this feature on Zoom, you will find at the bottom of your screen an icon that has the shape of a small world. It says interpretation, and there you have to click and then select the English option. Also, at the bottom of the screen, there is an icon that says Q&A, and you can use that icon to type the questions that you have for the end of the meeting. Buenos días. Les quería contar que para esta reunión existe interpretación simultánea disponible y para esos efectos encontrarán en la barra de herramientas de Zoom un icono que tiene la forma de un globo terráqueo. Tienen que pinchar el globo y elegir la opción español. Además, existe la función de preguntas y respuestas en la barra de herramientas. Puede decir Q&A o preguntas y respuestas, y ahí ustedes pueden escribir sus preguntas, las cuales podrán ser respondidas al final de este webinar. Muchas gracias. Mr. Jacobs.
Thank you, Ms. Giron. Many thanks for that explanation. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we all set now for the webinar. And but before, please allow me.
Excuse me, sir. Before you proceed, yes, may I ask that Mr. Carl Wisner, who has been admitted as an attendee, be allowed to be into the panelist selection. I see him as an attendee. He should be a panelist. Is it possible that they allow him into the panelist room?
Okay, he will be entering in a few seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Pretorius. Apologies for that. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are all set for the webinar, but please allow me to once again extend a very warm welcome to everybody. This webinar is hosted by the South African Embassy accredited to the Republic of Chile in partnership with the Chile-South Africa Chamber of Industry, Commerce and Tourism, as well as in Kwazulu-Natal Trade and Investment, Kwazulu-Natal, and the Eastern Cape Development Corporation. The focus of our webinar this morning is a look at business opportunities in the marine and aquaculture sectors in the regions of KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now start the formal part of our program, and it's my singular honor to request His Excellency Ambassador George Monia Mangeni, the South African ambassador accredited to Chile, to make his opening remarks. Ambassador, I yield the floor to you.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Buenos días a todos los que nos han unido en Chile y en la región. And to my fellow compatriots, good afternoon, Dumelang and Dimasiari, my compatriots in South Africa and anywhere else. It may be the afternoon at this stage. I would just like to at first, observe protocols, and in so doing, I wish to acknowledge the president of the Chile South Africa Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Tourism, Mr. Santiago Montt, who I believe will also be sharing a few remarks with us in a few minutes. And also our colleagues in the Ministry of Fisheries, Ms. Jacqueline Salas, Ms. Marisol Alvarez, thank you so much for coming along with us as we prepared, for this business webinar and collaborating with us. I would also like to welcome and acknowledge the Chief Executive Officer of our Investment Promotion Agency in Kwazulu-Natal, the CEO, Mr. Neville Maki. Thank you so much for joining us today. He is accompanied by Mr. Claude Pretorius, and who will also be speaking to us later. We also have from the Eastern Cape Development Corporation, Mr. Rory Heshik, who is part of our esteemed panelists, and Ms. Zipozake Miti. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I would also just like to acknowledge my colleagues. I hope that they've been able to join in from head office, led by Ambassador Bona, who's the head of our unit, our business unit, Ms. Mkonza and Ms. Andriswart and Mr. Apani at the head office. Distinguished business persons and other members of chambers within Chile who have joined us today, and ladies and gentlemen. I don't really have, a lot to contribute other than to punctuate my remarks with brevity, in the interest of time, because we do have quite a presentations coming up. However, I would like to say that, we're gathered on this platform on occasion of a business webinar that will focus on marine and aquaculture today. And we're so happy that you could join us. In that respect, it is indeed an honor and privilege for me to welcome you. This marine or maritime and aquaculture business webinar is quite an important one for us as we seek to cultivate business relations between our people in South Africa and the business persons here in Chile. We are hopeful that by the end of today's virtual journey, participants will have identified areas of interest, that appeal to them, and that linkages will have been created by the end we complete our proceedings today. It is also important for me to mention that, as we emerge, from the pandemic and as we move into what some refer to as the new order or the new normal, to further commend our governments, for very valiantly and gallantly, having fought the COVID-19 pandemic, to ensure that we can actually have hope and look at a better future as things continue to improve. In the same note, I think it is important for me to note that, for those who follow the news, you may have realized that recently in South Africa, we had some challenges that actually resulted in social unrest, especially in the provinces of Kwazulu-Natal and to some extent, the province of Gauteng. And I think I would like to use this opportunity to convey a message of hope from home. As you may be aware that our government has actually marshaled all resources to restore stability and to ensure that the situation returns to peace, calm, and at this stage, our communities are continuing with a peaceful situation and a situation where we believe we can continue to focus on issues that are important for our development. In that respect, we're very happy that decisive action has been taken, to secure livelihoods and to ensure that those that had been affected, are receiving the necessary help. So therefore, in so saying, I wish to further emphasize, that our democracy is predicated on the rule of law. It is quite protected and entrenched, and that we remain a very desirable and attractive investment destination. Let me further add that South Africa enjoys a strong bilateral relations with Chile, also predicated on strong and shared values and desires. And in that respect, we also share very profound interests that I believe are mutually beneficial, as evidenced by the type of relationships and bilateral mechanisms that the two countries have put in place. As we speak, we've just recently had political consultations between our two countries, headed by the various, our Deputy Minister, Mr. Alvin Buotes, and the Vice Minister here in Chile, Ms. Valdivia, which were quite fruitful. And a good component of those engagements actually entailed discussions around the promotion of trade and investment relations. And I believe that today's exercise is a further continuation of those relations. In that sense, Chile remains a very key partner for us, and we continue to see the deepening of relations in terms of trade, investments, tourism, technical cooperation, and development. I wish to further add that although the focus of today's business webinar may be on maritime and aquaculture, that I hope that by the end of this business webinar, we would have also had an opportunity to showcase some of the business opportunities that are available within South Africa, whether it be in areas of infrastructure development, manufacturing, and other related sectors. So I believe that this is quite critical as we proceed with our business webinar today. I also wish to use this opportunity to mention that as we grow two-way trade and investments, in fact, over the years, we've seen a gradual increase between two-way trade between our two countries, both South Africa and Chile. And we believe that that augurs well for the future, as it would further also promote and champion South-South relations. Both countries are actually located in continents that we believe are beacons for future development, the African continent and the South American continent, and in that sense, perhaps the entire Latin America. So we believe that this is quite an important point that we need to mention at this point. In that respect, we have to remain engaged in all domains and position ourselves strategically in global economic development as the Southern Hemisphere countries. I would like to conclude by perhaps mentioning a few developments that have happened in the past few months and perhaps in the past few weeks as well. Maybe starting with the African Continental Free Trade Area. That, as you may be aware, on the 1st of January, the African Continental Free Trade Area kicked into force. And this is basically geared towards entrenching regional integration and also increasing intra-Africa regional trade. And we believe that this is quite important in ensuring that we eradicate all barriers that exist for most of the countries on the African continent to increase trade amongst themselves, a very healthy exercise. But this also provides a very good opportunity for business persons who are interested in accessing the African market, over 1.2 billion persons, to invest in countries such as ourselves, such as South Africa, to access this particular market. Therefore, we hope that this provides an opportunity for increased investment, especially from Chile and the region in general. And specifically for today's webinar, I would also like to mention the fact that our two countries have recently concluded the negotiations and finalization of a memorandum of understanding on fisheries and aquaculture. I believe that this MOU will be signed as soon as both principals from both countries identify a suitable time, and that this will continue to catapult and entrench relations between our two countries, specifically in this particular sectors, marine or maritime and aquaculture. So this is a very important development for us. And I believe that this will provide us with an opportunity to continue to draw synergies as we create and build a better future today, and to also ensure that as we recover and revitalize our economies, we should draw from the fact that this is a situation that is mutually beneficial. We recognize the interdependence, and we also recognize the fact that it is a win-win situation. That indeed, in fact, if there's anything that the pandemic has taught us up to now, is that, you know, when you win, it does not mean that another person has to lose. We need that solidarity to work together. But I wish to thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope that our deliberations will be a success this morning in Chile and this afternoon for South Africa. But thank you very much, and back to you, Mr. Jacobs.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for your warm welcome. It's much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, before I hand the floor over to Mr. Santiago Montt of the Chile South Africa Chamber, we will like to show you a short video on South Africa, which will function as an introduction to the country and its people. May I ask Mundo Chile to activate the video for us? Thank you.
No one said this would be easy. Our young democracy was bound to face its fair share of obstacles. Though these moments may feel as if they're going to break us, asilahli themba. We rise to the challenges, armed with solutions, because with great freedoms come even greater responsibilities. And yes, we will not be silent, but show true courage when we speak truth to power. We will use our strength to build and not tear down. Honor the greatness within us and not destroy it. Each struggle we overcome is one more that shows together we can overcome anything. And believe you me, we will rebuild. From the spaza shops in Gauteng to the brick and mortar businesses in Kwazulu-Natal, from Dofaya, Gomora to Mamelodi, we will restore the hopes and dreams of our people one by one. Phakama mntakwethu, phahamang bana ba Tharientsho. Let us rise to the greater call of our nation. Form a human chain of resilience, knowing that jwang kapa jwang, we will rise time and time again for South Africa, Africa Borwa, Africa Chipembe.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to hand the floor over to Mr. Santiago Montt. He's the president of the Chile South Africa Chamber of Industry, Commerce and Tourism. Mr. Montt, the floor is yours. It looks like Mr. Montt is not with us, so I think let's move on. Ladies and gentlemen, as I indicated, this webinar is in partnership with 2 regions in South Africa, KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. And it's now my pleasure to hand over or give the floor over to Mr. Neville Majid. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal, to say a few words. Mr. Majid, the floor is yours.
Your Excellency, Ambassador George Muyamangele, a good friend to KwaZulu-Natal, and thank you very much for welcoming us your morning, but our afternoon. The President of the Chile South Africa Tourism Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Santiago Mond, members representing the Ministry of Fisheries in Chile, partners such as Mundo Chile and other partners that are here with us, participants from South Africa, as well as those from Chile. In particular, I'd like to acknowledge our colleagues at the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, Program Director, Mr. Patrick Jacob, as well as you, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon from the beautiful Durban. My mission here today really is, as representing the provincial government of KwaZulu-Natal, is to engage you and to also give you a message. Our mission is also to detail a plan of action that we have put together to rebuild our province, reuniting our people, and addressing the challenges that affect us on a daily basis, which we call triple challenges: poverty, inequality, and unemployment. Our role really is to inspire hope, to remain confident that we have better days in the horizon. We also know that there are better days ahead of people in different parts of the world that face large-scale challenges, from war to famine to natural disasters. But in essence, our hope is to ensure that we remain resilient and we remain focused on ensuring that we overcome any challenge that faces us. Further, we wanted to recognize the role of Africa and the international community in working with us within South Africa to defeat the apartheid government as well as colonialism. Faced with the current challenges of the coronavirus, we hope and that as a region, we are able to emerge quite victorious, and it's a pandemic that affects everyone globally, and we are hoping really for better days. It was through international solidarity in the latter part of the years that we were able to end our protracted conflict and have a negotiated peace settlement within the country, which realized democracy, which is a democracy that we embrace and we so love. And as my ambassador has said, it's a country, South Africa is a country that remains on peace, stability, and really adhering to the rule of law. In this time of the coronavirus pandemic, it is important that we explore ways of strengthening our linkages and to ensure that our companies globally are able to interact and engage with each other to grow their businesses and our economies, particularly focusing on the region of Chile and the region of South America. South Africa, like the rest of the world, is facing the reality and the impact and the remnants of the virus. This pandemic has had a negative impact on the health of our people, as well as major economies. But the message of hope that we have from our side, led by our state president, President Ramaphosa, and in our region of KwaZulu-Natal, our province, led by our Premier Zikalala, we have managed to really curtail the wild spread of this virus to a point where the rollout of the vaccine program has progressed very well. As I speak to you, I'm fully vaccinated, and a number of my peers too. But that's a mission that our government has embarked on to ensure that we curtail and deal with the issue of this pandemic. In line with our program today, just to indicate to you that our Provincial Department of Agriculture and Rural Development within our province of KwaZulu-Natal has set within its own program, as part of our provincial recovery plan, a clear focus on the aquaculture and the maritime sector. This program says to grow our economy, to ensure food security and moving our people from just focusing on primary agriculture, but to also diversify and look at other opportunities. My colleague Claude Pretorius will take you through some of the programs that we are embarking on within our province. I know that in the past few years, faltering economic growth in major markets, and more recently, this virus has put pressure on our economies who are predominantly relying on our export market. But I must say to you today that KwaZulu-Natal, our region here in South Africa, is open for business. We have never closed and will continue being in business. On our doorstep is the rest of the African continent, large untapped market with over 1.2 billion consumers. And if we do not take advantage of this growing market, particularly at the backdrop of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, it would be an opportunity lost. And our message today is to encourage you to collaborate with ourselves so that we are able to assist you in accessing this bigger, broader market where you can increase your product share. Our intended purpose of the session is really to showcase key opportunities within the maritime and aquaculture sector. But over and above that, we'll also be looking at other opportunities, specifically focusing on KwaZulu-Natal. And over and above KwaZulu-Natal, we'll also be looking at opportunities within our sister province called the Eastern Cape. We have recovered from a very sad, tyrant time period where we saw some social unrest, and it's important that I address this matter. Our provincial government has made every effort to curtail this in partnership with our national government, and security has been strengthened and the rule of law is being put in place. I am here to tell you that KwaZulu-Natal is stable. We do not have any challenges, and we do not foresee any challenges like these occurring again. We are stable, we are a region that is growing, and we are very resilient. On some of the positives, our transport infrastructure provides easy link, not only into the rest of South Africa, but also into the neighboring countries. KwaZulu-Natal is a very vibrant and innovative province with a strong ICT sector, which uses innovation in an innovative approach in order for us to leapfrog into competing globally. We have concluded a number of strategies to align our provincial growth to global growth, particularly at the backdrop of the pandemic, where we've realized the ICT sector has become quite important for us. These strategies are aimed at creating a more inclusive business environment within our province in order to encourage expansions and a growth of our existing businesses. In particular, the SME sector, which has really grown exponentially, and expansions specifically focusing on expanding their product lines to tap into the export potential. I want to thank His Excellency the Ambassador, as well as the Department of International Relations and Cooperation for allowing us the opportunity today to be part of this session, to engage with you, to introduce our province, and also to introduce opportunities within KwaZulu-Natal. Our stories are singular, but our destiny is shared. We are each other's harvest, we are each other's consort, and we are each other's bound. Let the new dawn be at hand. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maji, for that kind words. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have Mr. Mont available. Mr. Mont, if you can hear me, I yield the floor to you, sir.
Excuse me, Mr. Jacobs, there is no Mr. Mont in the attendees list. I don't know if he joined with a different link. And please confirm which is the name that is under his connection.
Okay, Carmen, maybe we should just proceed and handle that later on, if you don't mind. I'm going to proceed with the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now start with the important part of our webinar. That's the presentations from the two regions of KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. Before I hand the floor over to Mr. Rory Hashik from the Eastern Cape Development Corporation, we would like to just introduce the Eastern Cape region to our attendees. So I will ask Mundo Chile to just activate the 2-minute video for us. Thank you.
Welcome to a world open for adventure. Discover a place where the sun outshines the sunset as the waves roll the beat of an African drum. Explore a land where the great beasts stampede over plains, which echo the songs of its people. Experience rejuvenating hues of blue, green, and gold as freedom unwinds your horizons. Dare to chase life over the edge and catch it up in a spirited rush as a lifetime's adventure begins.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, I call on Mr. Rory Hashik of the Eastern Cape Development Corporation to take the floor. Mr. Hashik is the sector specialist with a focus on renewable energy and tourism. Mr. Hashik, I yield the floor to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Your Excellency, Ambassador, the colleagues from Chile Business Chamber, Chile South Africa Business Chamber, our colleagues in DIRCO, DTIC, the stakeholders listening in from Chile, good afternoon to you, and or good morning to you, and good afternoon to our colleagues here in South Africa. Thank you for that introduction. And it's my pleasure this afternoon to just tell you a bit more about opportunities in the oceans economy, with specific focus on maritime and aquaculture, within the Eastern Cape, South Africa. Eastern Cape nestles between the Western Cape, Cape Town, and KwaZulu-Natal, the city of Durban. We're going to hear more about. We have an incredibly diverse 800 kilometers of coastline, 3 international seaports in Port Elizabeth, Gqeberha, Gqeberha, and Buffalo City, East London. There are also a number of small harbors along the coast, mainly used for recreational and some small-scale fishing activity. And we've got 3 airports located in Port Elizabeth, Gqeberha, East London, and Mthatha. We are a province of a mixed economy. On one hand, we've got a modern and export-orientated economy. The slide here shows the factory Mercedes-Benz right adjacent to the Port of East London, in a metro, modern metro, but also much of the population is rural and isolated from the centers of economic activity. The Eastern Cape, quite a lot of it was formerly in the apartheid era homelands, and a couple of these areas have had fairly big lags in infrastructure which have needed to be addressed. Our economy, in terms of GDP contribution, is led by export manufacturing with a heavier reliance on the automotive sector. Some of these exports include auto components and light-tech equipment, agro-processing, plant products. This is actually the chief export from the Eastern Cape to Chile, and in turn, the chief import from Chile to the Eastern Cape at present is meat and meat products. I have also got a report on trade flows over the past 5 years from Eastern Cape, between Eastern Cape and Chile, and I will make that available after our webinar this afternoon. The Eastern Cape also exports timber and timber products. We're the leading exporter of mohair in South Africa, and then relevant in terms of fishery products, we catch and export South African squid, mainly into the European market, South Coast rock lobster, which is a deep water lobster species that is trawled, and South African hake. Some of the species are processed locally and exported. Others are processed via the bigger fishing centers in Western Cape and Cape Town. And then just a recent, I'm talking exports, just a recent notable investment, export orientated. Mercedes-Benz, June 2021 announced a 13 billion rand expansion and a new line, the new C-Class model. Most of these vehicles are exported into the international market via the Port of East London. So an exciting investment in these tricky times. Then moving further to other maritime matters and infrastructure, the 3 ports are supported by a ship repair facility in the Port of East London, and some smaller boat building facilities which we'll go into. We don't have any large ship building facility in the Eastern Cape. And then, as mentioned, there are 2 small boat harbors, one in Cape St. Francis Bay and one in Port Alfred. And there are, in addition, a number of launching sites for fishing craft and recreational craft along the length of the province. If we look in more detail at the boat building sector, it can be seen that there's a number of operations, 44 in total in Nelson Mandela Bay Metro and 28 in the Buffalo City Metro. It needs to be pointed out that this does include the services to the boat builders, and so the Eastern Cape does have a number of really world-class small craft manufacturers. Some of these craft are exported, to a number of international markets, and from strike type craft down to surf skis and rubber ducks. Craft like the Fen kayak shown here in the corner hold a number of world championships in surf ski disciplines around the world. Then moving into aquaculture and mariculture. As the Eastern Cape, we are the second largest producer after the Western Cape in terms of aquaculture products. And our production, as is the country, is largely dominated volume and value by the South African abalone, Haliotis midday, and oysters. We have a single large abalone farm in the Eastern Cape. We're in the process of expanding, and we are also the largest exporter of, the second largest exporter of fish and other aquatic commodities with a value of over 603 million rands in the past year. However, we need to be honest as well as a province and say, our diverse, beautiful 800-kilometer coastline is also, for the most part, a high-energy coastline with only really 2 bays in that area, and those bays, heavily utilized by different uses such as shipping, recreation, as the case may be, and tourism. And so we do have a need to diversify and expand. And the one way we're looking is abalone ranching, of which I'm going to give you some more details. And secondly, the province is looking at developing new products and is developing new products and new markets for other fish species being produced at maybe a smaller scale in the province, freshwater fish such as African catfish, clarius, 2 tilapia species, and marron shown here in the corner, which is an Australian freshwater crayfish species. Just a bit more detail on abalone ranching. As mentioned, the sites for on-land mariculture remain limited. I will give you more details on 2 good value propositions, but along a lot of the coast, it's difficult to develop a greenfield site unless there's a lot of support infrastructure linked to it. And so abalone ranching is a way that's been identified and has indeed been trialed since 2013, when the first site in South Africa was developed at Cape Recife in Gqeberha. In this operation, the abalone are seeded from a hatchery back into the sea. They are literally guarded from poachers for a number of years, and then harvested by the rights holder. 2021 has seen the first commercial harvest of abalone. In other words, where not just monitoring and checking growth rates and such, but actually where the rights holder is starting to see a bit of return on investment. And in addition to the return now being seen, they have also shown a substantial reduction in poaching because of this increased compliance present. The investor has to invest in compliance and patrols. And part of the requirement across the country is that the rights holder also works at stock enhancement. So not just put and take, but also rebuilding the stock via proper gene pool. And so we really do see potential to develop further areas along the Eastern Cape Coast. And indeed, 2 areas already being trialed, and I think long-term, but it does show great promise. Unfortunately, KZN with its warmer waters is unlikely to be a destination for this, although swimming in the sea is always going to be a better option in KwaZulu-Natal. Abalone only naturally go up midway on the wild coast and are limited by waters over average of 20 degrees or so. Then just moving into some 2 land-based aquaculture value propositions in our 2 special economic zones that we have in the Eastern Cape. First one in the ELIDZ, in the area of Buffalo City. One can see that the zone is adjacent right to the sea, and it's been clustered according to the various sectors. The sites, you can see the cursor, but the sites along the seaboard here, the pink and green sites, have been allocated for aquaculture and mariculture development. The zones have been clearly demarcated to support different sectors and to have maybe some shared services within them. The zone has put in a seawater supply and has a substantial storage capacity. And the first operation growing yellowtail kingfish, which is shown in this photo in the corner, and South African cob, Algorhozomus, that is located here in the corner around one of these pink sites there, and is already selling into the market in South Africa. Just a couple more pictures of the ELIDZ, very close to the airport, close to the port, strong road and rail linkages, and very close to the sea itself. And then a little bit further down the coast in Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, we have the Kucha Development Zone. NMB Metro has 2 ports serving it, and a lot of container handling capacity, able to service major shipping lines and car carriers. Kucha, really deep water port, and then the zone surrounds actually the port itself. The zone has also worked hard on putting in services to support investors, such as a customs control area. They help with labor and safety and such supply services. There's power and ICT backup. There's a localization for a potential for manufactured goods. And then of interest to us, a designated aquaculture development zone just south of the port itself, and the aerial photo in this rather busy slide just shows the development of that zone. So what has been completed to date is an EIA, environmental impact assessment for land-based aquaculture, has been completed and authorization received. The EIA for the marine pipeline servitudes, that's in progress, and in anticipation of that, construction has already commenced some of the authorized activities, and a lot of those completions and authorizations expected before the end of 2021. The total project value is at least 2 billion rands investment, including the seawater intake and the landside infrastructure. And the zone is still, however, looking for some funding on the seawater pipeline to really be able to supply a goodly supply to prospective investors. Then, as our ambassador pointed out, it would be remiss not to just touch on just one or two other key sectors in our coastal economy, our oceans economy, and the one which we can't ignore is renewable energy, where the province has really, over the past 8 years or so, seen good investment into the sector. 15 large-scale wind and solar farms, total installed capacity of 1,500 megawatts, and importantly, more than 25 billion rands, much of which is foreign direct investment, has come into the province. And at least 40% of this capacity is situated in the coastal zone. Jeffreys Bay Wind Farm, situated right on the coast of Jeffreys Bay, is, to my knowledge, actually the biggest wind farm in the sub-Saharan Africa. And opportunities that exist in this sector include manufacture of components, export into Africa, and investment in the actual operations themselves. Very excitingly, our latest wind farm was commissioned now this month, last month, feeding into the grid. I drove past it this morning from East London to Quebec and saw the turbines feeding the grid, reducing our country's carbon footprint and increasing our energy security situation. And then finally, as a key tourism sector, or coastal tourism, really seen as key for job creation, and with a real potential to develop further. And so hence we do need to mention it. A number of products in our coastal zone, really unique, really adding value to our tourism destination. We are home of the Big Seven, the traditional Big Five in an authentic wilderness experience, in addition to whale watching and white shark diving product. Algoa Bay is the bottlenose dolphin capital of the world, with really some of the highest concentrations anywhere to be seen. You saw some of the other attractions in the video, and we've got a number of national parks and provincial nature reserves, and really do offer an authentic mix of cultural and nature-based experiences. And then in conclusion, just to say that as the Provincial Trade and Investment Promotion Agency, we are here to facilitate foreign and local investment and investment inquiries into the Eastern Cape. We support existing investors and businesses to build and expand, especially in these tough times, and we promote access to export markets and development of established exporters, help them improve, and also to build emerging exporters and help them to break into the often difficult export market. And so with that being said, let us be your first point of contact for any trade and investment inquiry into the province. We'd be happy to respond to any inquiries, myself or my colleague Tipuzake, across any sector, put you in touch with our colleagues in the SEZs as the case may be, and we look forward to being of service to you in the time after this webinar. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Hashik, for that very comprehensive and insightful presentation on the business opportunities available in the Eastern Cape. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hashik unfortunately will have to leave us due to some other urgent commitment, but his colleague, Ms. Zibusake Miti from the Eastern Cape is available to answer any of your questions later on. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude the presentation on the Eastern Cape region, we would like to show you a short video on the sights and sounds of a very beautiful part of the Eastern Cape called the Wild Coast. May I ask Mundo Chile to activate the video for us?
Let your mind wander for a moment to a place that redefines natural beauty, a place that has remained untamable for generations, a place that is truly wild. This is home to tranquility and adventure. It is where you find sanctuary. It is where you find yourself. Here along the stretch of South Africa's eastern coastline, there are treasures to be found. They cannot be held, but they are seen and felt in every inch of this unspoiled land. Ikhaya lamaXhosa. This place is home to Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, and like him, it has lessons to teach us all. Here we are all witnesses to the artistry of nature, and its wonders are waiting for you. This is not just a place that is ripe for tourism. This is true escape, true adventure. This is the Wild Coast. Wamkelekile.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the presentation on the Eastern Cape region. Before we move on to the presentation by KwaZulu-Natal, it's my pleasure to call upon Mr. Santiago Montt, the President of the Chile-South Africa Chamber of Industry, Commerce and Tourism, to say a few words. Mr. Montt, I hand over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I believe you are hearing me now. Do you hear me?
You loud and clear. We hear you, Mr. Montt. You can
very
proceed.
Well. Yeah, I want to apologize because it was impossible to get connected before. Of course, I was here and as I was supposed to. If you allowed me, I will say a few words about how we from the Chilean South African Chamber of Commerce may promote, may help, may assist initiatives, entrepreneur initiatives between Chilean and South African entrepreneurs and investment. As you know, in Chile, we have a lot of experience in aquaculture. I do believe that at least in the in the Americas, Chile is the country that has most experience and has been more successful in exploiting the different type of initiatives, like from salmon, from trout, and from, I don't know how you say in English, chorito. And we have been doing quite well. The Chileans, we have been exporting to many markets. And the idea, I think, is a very good idea that we do something together with South African people. Of course, we need to understand that aquaculture requests a lot of local, domestic particulars. So it is absolutely indispensable that this be a joint venture between South Africans and Chileans. And we, the chamber, we will be ready to work with the embassy and see how to get together Chileans and South Africans that could be interested in joint ventures. In years in the past, we have done something like that in relation to an abalone industry that in the end it was not possible to establish it, but times have changed. I'm sure that now in South Africa it will be much possible to do this, but we will need that the Chilean people could be introduced to some South Africans that be interested in developing this, either private people or maybe governmental or governmental private people, any type of combinations. And I'm sure that the Chilean people and the Chilean industry will be interested, because this is a way to enter into the African market and also to the European market. If we establish a company in South Africa with South Africans in joint venture, the export may go to the European market and enter with the special conditions that are the proper ones from South African products. So really, we are interested, and we, the Chamber of Commerce, will do whatever is in our way to have as a successful initiative this. And be sure that we have a lot of, in the Chamber, we have a lot of connections with the local industry here. So I do believe, Mr. Ambassador, that we can do, that we can obtain really results from this. This is all what I have to say today. And sorry my delay, but it really was not possible to enter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mont. We really appreciate you joining us, and we also appreciate your kind words. Ladies and gentlemen, we now proceed to the presentation by the KwaZulu-Natal region. But before we do that, we would like to show you again, like an introduction to the region of KwaZulu-Natal, a short video of about 2 to 3 minutes. So I'll ask Mundo Chile to activate that video for us.
KwaZulu-Natal is an enticing, sophisticated, and spectacular destination. As one of South Africa's 9 provinces, it is the country's second largest economy. The ambitious future growth of the province lies primarily in its positioning as the gateway to Africa. Nowhere else in the continent is the combination of sea, land, and air logistics being more developed and optimized as it is in KwaZulu-Natal. The province boasts 2 of the largest seaports in sub-Saharan Africa: Durban Container Terminal, which has recently been widened and deepened, and Richards Bay Harbour, the country's busiest deep water and break bulk port, and home to the privately operated Richards Bay Coal Terminal. Both ports are backed by a world-class rail and road infrastructure, giving KwaZulu-Natal a key competitive advantage. The N2 is an important corridor connecting Durban and Richards Bay, and the N3 links Durban with a double-lane artery to the bustling capital of Gauteng. When it comes to fast, agile access to global markets, King Shaka International Airport is Southern Africa's premier air logistics platform. Situated at the Durban Trade Port, this area truly prioritizes integrated air services. The province has the second highest export propensity as well as the second highest level of industrialization in the country. Toyota South Africa, the country's largest vehicle manufacturer, is located in the province, as are several major national suppliers. The ship repair, shipbuilding, and boat building industries also have a long and proud history in Durban. The province's chemical and plastic subsector is well established, versatile, and diversified. Minerals and mining are key industries in the northern areas. KwaZulu-Natal's agricultural sector boasts a wide diversity of high-quality agricultural land, and it is the country's leading producer of timber and manufacturer of timber products. KwaZulu-Natal is also striving to be a strong ICT and electronics contributor. To ensure growth and development of its wide variety of sectors, special economic zones have been identified as a conduit for economic growth. With its subtropical climate and breathtaking settings, KwaZulu-Natal is South Africa's domestic tourism leader. From its metropolitan heart in Durban, you will never be more than 3 hours away from the pristine beaches of the south, the majestic Drakensberg to the west, or the Isimangaliso Wetland Park in the north. As a place to live and work, KwaZulu-Natal offers world-class infrastructure and excellent medical, educational, social and cultural facilities. A skilled and semi-skilled labor pool also ensures that current and budding enterprises will have the right people readily available. With so many opportunities at hand, there's never been a better time to unlock the potential of KwaZulu-Natal. Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal, your knowledge partner in business.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to call upon Mr. Claude Pretorius of Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal for his presentation. Mr. Pretorius is the Destination Marketing Manager at Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal. Mr. Pretorius, the floor is yours.
Buenos días a todos. Gracias por unirte. Thank you very much to the ambassador, Ambassador Mngema, and his team at the Embassy of South Africa in Chile. Thank you also to the Chile-South Africa Chamber, the Eastern Cape Development Corporation, and of course, our KZN investor with a huge traction in this market will be providing a testimonial after my presentation. Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal is very glad to participate in today's platform in introducing our province and the opportunities presented in South Africa for potential investors. I won't dwell on my first two slides as the ambassador and my CEO have already spoken a little about the ravages of both COVID and the recent unrest that we had in our country. Suffice to say that the Premier of KZN, Mr. Sisile Zikalala, has driven an aggressive campaign to ensure that we provide support to local businesses through various grants and business rescue solutions, through strengthening security in the province, and also to reinforce the message that KwaZulu-Natal is growing by rebuilding investor confidence. As a province, we are proud to be the second largest contributor to South Africa's economy, responsible for more than 65% of South Africa's containerized trade and significantly more in terms of export through our break bulk exports. As mentioned in the video, we are home to two of Africa's largest and busiest ports, Durban and Richards Bay, as well as with international linkages through King Shark International Airport. As a province, we aim to be the region's premier destination for both trade and investment. As the investment promotion agency for the region, Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal, through its various functional areas, works with local businesses and potential investors from abroad who wish to set up here in terms of growing export and trade from the province, increasing investment into the province, and making sure that investors who are located in our province remain here and also expand their business. Through destination marketing, we also make sure that the message of who we are and the welcome destination that we are for investment is spread to the rest of the world. KZN has identified its value proposition, and I think our video showcases quite a few of those. But suffice to say that KZN provides great access to markets, especially markets in Africa. We have very large and entrenched companies, international investors with strong value chains that have chosen to be in this province for decades and as long as a century. And we also have a very vibrant population, including a labor force and a youthful population. Today's presentation focuses only on the maritime and aquaculture sectors. However, I will mention that we have focused on at least 6 broad sectors in terms of opportunities for economic growth. Our video very effectively captures the tourism offering. You could see clearly the sort of property and infrastructure development that is taking place in our province, our great agriculture propensity, and the opportunities for agro-processing. You saw major international manufacturers such as Toyota. We also have investors from countries like Germany, Korea, and China in plastics and chemicals. And then, of course, the services and transport sector is a significant contributor. If you visit our website at www.tikzn.co.za, you will also be able to download a copy of our packaged investment opportunities booklets. And that summarizes about $13.3 billion worth of packaged investor-ready projects that are essentially ready for potential investors to move in. We've done a lot of the feasibility work, we've done a lot of the background work, and we're ready to do business with those projects. In terms of today's discussion, we're focusing on the maritime and aquaculture sectors, and looking at those, there already has been a great level of success in KwaZulu-Natal in ocean-based tourism, cruise tourism, and a range of port industries. And our company providing a testimonial today will speak a little bit on their activities that adds to that discussion. Opportunities for growth exist in boat and shipbuilding and also repair, an area that we have become very well known for. Aquaculture, small craft harbors and waterfront developments. I've mentioned our 2 major ports, but there are a large number of small craft harbors up and down the provincial coast line, and then also the opportunity for waterfront developments. Oil and gas are also a major opportunity moving forward. Before I actually go into the offerings in the maritime sector, I thought it would be good to highlight some of the key opportunities that exist currently, using a model, a demand model where we've looked at global trade statistics. We've been able to identify quite specifically products that right now have the opportunity with market capacity in Chile. And if you look at this list, this list has about 30 products on it, but I focused on the top 10. Food products form the majority of these, and this is an easy opportunity, both in terms of value-added manufacturing. Mr. Mont spoke of partnerships in terms of manufacturing locally for export into Europe, export into Africa, export into Chile. And these are some of the products that we have in KZN that lend themselves to that. In terms of the maritime sector, where the opportunities lie, and as I said, Sandock Austral will talk a lot about this, what they do, and that speaks a lot to that. But I've highlighted some of the key areas. Shipbuilding and repairs, a great opportunity. We're one of the busiest ports in Africa, and so we provide a lot of the sort of support to all aspects of the maritime sector. In boat building, we have a history in terms of all types of marine vessels, from small to medium, such as fishing, patrol, search and rescue vessels, and also to your larger vessels and medium vessels, such as tugs, sea patrol, large fishing vessels. Mr. Weisner from Sandock Austral will talk a little about the marine research vessels and some of the phenomenal work that they're doing in that area. We also have a strong focus on the leisure sector with the building of yachts and passenger ships and ferries and the like. In terms of aquaculture, KwaZulu-Natal as a province has seen a lot of opportunity in this sector, and we've invested a lot of money in terms of research and identifying where the specific opportunities are. I'll start by mentioning some of the species that we've eliminated as in terms of feasibility. Now tilapia is one type where KZN does not give permits for their beneficiation. The common carp is highly underdeveloped, and access to the fingerlings or the growth initiators is not necessarily guaranteed. My colleague from the Eastern Cape mentioned the warm KZN water, and while that is a great benefit for us for tourism for 12 months of the year, it really excludes quite a lot of marine species that cannot grow along our coastline because the water is simply too warm. And some of these are abalone. Mr. Mont mentioned chorrito, which is mussels. They don't have much opportunity because of the warm water on our coastline. Oysters, similarly. The prawn industry collapsed, and that primarily as a result of global dumping of surplus prawns and a slower prawn growth of one harvest per year. So we've through research eliminated those, and what we have come up with is two species where we see the greatest opportunity: rainbow trout and Nile crocodile. The Nile crocodile, and I'm sure many of you are raising your eyebrows, but yes, it is a popular niche commodity product, crocodile meat. But some of the drawbacks to that is that it does have a very long growth period, and is regarded as one of the species fetching higher prices both on the local and international market. So there is some activity in that sector in the province. But where we see the low-hanging fruit for international investors is in the local rainbow trout market. And we've done a lot of work in that sector. We've identified areas inland in the province where great opportunity exists for that. Trout is already well established in the province. Production inputs are easily available locally. Local market prices are relatively higher, so you know that there's a good niche market for that. Trout in South Africa is the biggest of the freshwater aquaculture industries. Currently, there is a shortfall, which encourages us to pursue it. The shortfall is met primarily from our neighboring country, Lesotho, but also with imports from Norway. So there's a lot of opportunity to expand production. And we see this as being the biggest opportunity currently in aquaculture. I also thought it would be good to show you some of the package investment opportunities. And I just want to showcase one from our package investment opportunities booklets. And this, the upper picture shows you the harbor mouth at Durban. The Durban harbor is an enclosed harbor leaving the beach front of Durban as a very pristine, clean, blue flag beach environment that isn't negatively impacted by the aggressive shipping industries that take place in the port itself. And as you can see, there's the harbor mouth at the top of the upper picture, which allows ships in and out. A Malaysian partnership with the Durban Point Waterfront Development Company in Durban has embarked on an ambitious initiative of building skyscrapers in along the beachfront, providing mixed-use residential, hotel, and retail spaces. The ground has already been broken on this. We've seen some of the buildings starting to take shape already, and this project is anticipated to be phased out over the next 10 years. In terms of recent entries to the market, we have the recent Hilton Garden Inn, just north of the city of Durban. And then also breaking ground is the R1 billion Club Med Resort. This is a very well-known Mediterranean resort that is planning to set up in KwaZulu-Natal along the coast north of Durban. Also at the port, in the cruise, bringing together the whole waterfront development with the cruise industry, is a 200 million rand multi-user cruise terminal, which again, as well on its way in terms of construction and will be opening next year for the tourist season later in 2022. So that gives you an overview of both the opportunities, but also the recent investments that have taken place into our province. Talking about KwaZulu-Natal, of course, we cannot leave out tourism. KwaZulu-Natal is South Africa, the biggest tourism destination for South Africans, and for the Southern African region is one of the premier destinations, and we are working to grow that internationally. As a destination, we offer everything from sea to land, safari and leisure, with action, land and water safari, scenic beauty, coastal beach experiences, and of course, not just our famous Zulu culture with UNESCO World Heritage Sites, but also a melting pot of cultures from around the world that over the centuries have settled in Durban and have called Durban home. So a very welcoming environment for international visitors to come to our province. The province itself provides very easy access through King Shaka Airport, as you saw in the video, with international airlines such as Emirates, Air Mauritius, Qatar, Turkish Airways, and British Airways landing at King Shaka Airport, and also with further connections both within South Africa and across our borders to the regional countries through some of the smaller airlines or airlines that provide local access, such as South African Airways, British Airways local partner called Comair, and others. Of course, our road infrastructure, as you saw in the video, is world-class, connecting us across the country, and with rail taking us as far as the northern reaches of Zambia in terms of access. I hope this gives you a nice snapshot of KwaZulu-Natal, the investments and trade opportunities that are presented for you, and especially in terms of the shipbuilding and aquaculture sectors, the opportunities that exist. Again, our website, www.tikzn.co.za, and you can also reach me on claude@tikzn.co.za. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I look forward to engaging with you as we go on through the rest of the session.
Thank you, Mr. Pretorius, for that also very comprehensive and insight presentation on the opportunities available in KwaZulu-Natal. Mr. Pretorius mentioned that we do have a company called Sandok Austral Shipyard based in KwaZulu-Natal. And it's the company itself is 100% Black owned and operates the biggest shipyard in Southern Africa. The company is also known for building the biggest ship on the African continent. And it's my pleasure now to hand over to Mr. Carl Wisner of Sandok Austral. Mr. Wisner, the floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity. I would like to thank Ambassador George Monyemangeni, the DTI representatives of KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape, the organizers of this webinar. Thank you very much. And also to our interpreters and those who have joined this webinar. So thank you very much. Must I share the video or is it available for screening?
You may share, please, Carl.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you. So confirm it is visible.
Yes, it is.
Excellent. So to all the Honorable Ambassador and to all the participants, I would like to once again highlight the beautiful countries of South Africa and Chile, which are indicated on the screen, sharing a common ocean across the South Atlantic. And the testimonial, I'm standing on behalf of our CEO, Mr. Prashin Maharaj, who has given his apologies as he's busy with other business engagements. And to present to you Sandok Austral. So just a short history on our CEO, who's also the group CEO. So we're a holding group called Sandok Austral. In Sandok Austral, one of its subsidiaries is Sandok Austral Shipyards. And Mr. Prashin Maharaj then serves in both those capacities, as well as director and on the group of various business and maritime cluster and shipbuilding committees, and also because of the location of the shipyard, the Durban Chamber of Commerce. So once again, he gives his welcome and he gives his apologies for not being present today. Just a short introduction with regards to the shipyard and its activities. It's 100% Black-owned shipyard, driving a lot of development of artisan training and apprenticeship training schemes. And we've done a lot of transformation and developing of local capacity within marine, commercial, and oil and gas technology domains. Those pictures are just an indication of some of the ships that have been built, ranging from inshore patrol vessels to luxury private cruise liners, to fleet replenishment vessels, as well as combat vessels such as frigates. We're currently embarking with our staff, which is 67% owned by women. We're currently embarking on building a significant hydrographic capability within South Africa. And that hydrographic capability to ensure that we can do effective surveying of our extended continental shelf claim, as well as inshore survey operations, which is in essence coastal operations for surveying of, an example is fishing clothes, which is very predominant now in Chile, and maybe that's an area of information sharing that can be passed. Just in terms of our collaboration between South Africa and Chile, we would like to first highlight we need to have a collaborative data sharing platform where we can join as members of a data slant technology platform, and then we could then post on that platform various projects, various opportunities, and various solutions existing between ourselves and Chile. We're focusing now on the maritime and aquaculture domain, and we believe that there's effective partnerships that can be shared in terms of the Southern Oceans, the technology employed in the Southern Oceans for business opportunities that exist. We'd like to tailor some of those activities because there's a lot of our communities that use the ocean and the coastal areas as a means of sustainment and business. So there's a lot of lessons or business models that could be exchanged between Chile and ourselves for fishing clothes. And then on the leadership side, we believe that within the public and private partnership arena, we can demonstrate effective leadership of those opportunities like proposals. An example that we're seeing on the slide here is our inshore hydrographic slant oceanographic survey capability by means of survey motorboats. And these vessels are used to survey the waters up to 200 meters. And that provides an ideal opportunity of building data layers from the ocean bottom and the nature of the ocean bottom through the respective water layers, as well as what exists in those water layers, to the survey for digital charts. So between ourselves, so this is very important for our inshore areas, our bays, and our ports and harbors. And then as indicated on a picture on the left there, which is the Magellan, Straits of Magellan, and moving up into Canal Inglés, which is a beautiful area. There's lots of opportunities there for coastal slant confined water surveys that can be done to improve business opportunities for aquaculture. The current build that we are doing is a hydrographic survey vessel. This is for deep ocean surveys and provides an opportunity for us to chart down to the ocean bottom up to a maximum of 7 kilometers. So we believe that this is a great opportunity that exists between Chile and South Africa, where deep water surveys are required between ourselves and the Antarctic and the respective water layers that exist between the two. On the defense side, we have been active with regards to survey vessels, boats, marine sampling platforms, creating awareness platforms of what's happening on the ocean, as well as what's happening below the ocean. Because South Africa operates 209 submarines, we are quite involved in submarine search and rescue capabilities, system integration, and then aerospace. On the commercial side, we've been tailoring upgrades on vessels that relate to hydrography, marine monitoring, transportation of marine, platform integration services and maintenance. And then on the oil and gas side, we focus very much on new technologies, clean technology, and then maintenance, repair, and upgrades of what's happening on the piping and the steel in the oil and gas industry. So I think what we would recommend from a Sandock offshore perspective is the opportunity to establish a collaborative platform, which could be a specific domain where we could then integrate respective knowledge and solutions for business opportunities relating to fishing, relating to ocean farming, and relating to vessels that use both research as well as for transportation. And through this collaboration, there's opportunities for us to increase efficiency, in other words, to ensure that the margins on the business opportunities are achieved. We can reduce the implementation cost because we can share the learning that we've gained from each other on the respective programs. And through that shared learning, we can minimize duplication and therefore risks, which translate eventually into costs. So just to end off the testimonial from Sandock Austral, we would like to say that by sharing information, by sharing the establishment of business ventures between Chile and ourselves, we can then share abundantly the opportunities that exist within this ocean domain. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Wiesner. Thank you so much for that very interesting presentation on your company and highlighting the readiness of your company to look at possibilities to collaborate with Chilean companies on this side. Ladies and gentlemen, I now open the floor for any comments or questions from participants to our panelists. So the floor is open. It looked like there's no questions or comments from our participants. It's probably because we had very good presentations by the Eastern Cape, Kwazulu-Natal, and of course, Sandock Austral. And of course, participants, we will circulate the presentations to all the participants, and the participants are also free to contact, of course, Mr. Hashik from the Eastern Cape Development Corporation and Mr. Claude Pretorius of Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal and Mr. Wiesner at Sandock Austral. And of course, you're more than welcome to contact the embassy as well as the Chile-South Africa Chamber of Commerce. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our webinar for today. Please, Ambassador, please go.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jacobs. I think maybe it might actually just be useful maybe to create another platform at a later stage to take some of the ideas that have come out of this session, because I think there were quite a few actionables. For instance, I listened very carefully, to the presentation and the remarks by Mr. Santiago Mont. So I think that provides us with a platform, to really start looking at maybe actionables in terms of what can we do, actually maybe to target and identify, potential areas where we can bring the business persons together. And I would actually say that, the same may also apply, to a very wonderful, a very informative and insightful presentation by Mr. Carl Wiesner as well, because I think it opens up, opportunities for collaboration at different levels, both from, the maritime, technological, and these are things that we should maybe, as we go forward, try and bring these elements and see if we can, bring them together. And my understanding was that, this is a start, and with the excellent presentations that we've had from both KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape Development Corporation, that this should build up, some momentum, towards getting all the parties together and really identifying some targeted areas that that we can pursue. I just wanted to make that comment very briefly, and also use the opportunity to really congratulate the team, for what I think was an extremely insightful and informative session. But back to you, Mr. Jacobs.
No, thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for that summation. It looks like there's no comments coming through the facility that we have. So I think I will make use of the opportunity to maybe just to conclude the webinar for today. Allow me to convey to all of you that have participated our heartfelt appreciation and thanks on behalf of Ambassador Munya Mangeni and the staff at the South African Embassy in Santiago. We genuinely appreciate the fact that you've put the time aside from your busy schedules to join us today. Also, our sincere gratitude to our valuable partners, namely the Chile South Africa Chamber of Industry, Commerce and Tourism, Trade and Investment Kwazulu-Natal, the Eastern Cape Development Corporation, and of course, Sandok Austral Shipyards for partnering with us to make this important webinar possible. As the ambassador indicated, and rightfully so, the challenge now for us is to take these forward and to concretize any opportunities into the benefit of both countries going forward. We hope that we hope to continue this collaboration with future activities. Ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder that we are still battling COVID-19, so please take care of yourselves and your families and continue to stay safe. Once again, thank you to all of you for joining us, and on behalf of Ambassador Munya Mangeni and the staff at the embassy, we say goodbye and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.